Hello and welcome to Moneytree Software's video on Where's My Rate. This video will cover the Total Online and Total Planning Suite tools. Right now, we are on the default rates page showing our pre-retirement and post-retirement rates. We can double check by looking at the A6 page or Asset Detail of Easy Money. In golden years, this report page will be A4. So from what we can tell when we compare, is that our rates do not match our pre-retirement rates. However, they do appear to match our post-retirement rates. Let's take a look and see what could be causing this. If we see down here, we see that Edgar's age is actually the same as his retirement age. This will cause the system to look at the post-retirement rates as long as this box, Override at Retirement, is checked. If we uncheck that, we can run the report and then compare again. Here, we can see that the rates have changed. However, they still don't match our pre-retirement rates or our post-retirement rates. Let's take a look and see where they could be coming from. If we look in the assets and we highlight the assets, we can see that there's individual rates that have been assigned to them. These could have been entered manually into this field, or they could have come from the asset classes that are entered on the assets. To check, we can look at the asset classes here. They appear to match. We can see in the settings that we have assigned rates to the asset classes by default in the system. We can go to the Home menu, Settings, and Asset Classes, and this is where we can set the default rate for asset classes. So if we still want to see the pre-retirement rates and defaults, we'll go ahead and just zero out the rates on all the assets. We can now run a report and compare the results. We can now see that mostly the pre-retirement rates match our asset detail page. However, this brokerage account appears to still be using a total rate of return of 8%. We're expecting to see a total rate of return of 6%. Let's go back to the asset section. Let's confirm that we remove the rate of return on the asset individually. The rate assumptions appear to be all zero. It should be looking to the defaults, but it appears to be still pulling from somewhere else. The last place we can look is in the Rate Changes tab. When we look at the equity bucket, we can see that at age 65, the system is changing the rate of equity others to a total of an 8% return. If we remove this line, we can then confirm that we're getting the expected rate of return on the assets that we would like. And now it is. There's one last thing I'd like to show you about the rates of return. Let's say on this retirement asset, we had forgot to remove the rate and had had a 3% return. When we look at the report, we can see on that one asset that the rate has been entered at 3%. But if we go through our asset pages, we'd want to confirm that the rate that we expect is being used on all the different buckets. However, when we get to this page, we see that the rate is not 3%, but 1.76. It's fine here. It's fine here. It appears to just be in Edgar's qualified plans. Let's take a look at what's causing this. Edgar's qualified plans are his traditional IRA and his 401k. His traditional IRA has a 3% return, and his 401k has 0. Since we've assigned the 3% return to one of Edgar's qualified plans, it's taking the 0% and the 3% and making a weighted average. To correct this, we just want to make sure that 0% is entered on both the qualified plans. We can now go back to the report and check to make sure that it's using the 7% rate all throughout. In review, default rates will come from assumptions and default rates, pre-retirement, post-retirement, and the Override at Retirement checkbox. Asset class rates will come from the asset classes that have been entered in settings and will be assigned to the asset based on the class that you assign them. Individual rates can also be entered on the assets themselves here. And finally, in the Rate Changes section, we can change rates throughout the plan on any of the buckets from here. I'll now review these rate locations in the Total Planning Suite desktop tool. The default rates will be in the Assumptions and Retirement Assumptions. In the Asset Detail, we can enter individual rates in the Asset Rate Assumptions. The Asset Class rates can be updated from here. The Rate Changes section will be in the Asset Summary input and on the Rate Changes tab. This concludes our video for Where is My Rate? If you have any questions, please call support at 877-421-9815 or send an email to support@moneytree.com. Thank you.